The regular meeting of the Richmond Board of Education will come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we approve, Angela, would you please do our mission statement?
At Richmond Community Schools, we provide a quality education that will empower students to be successful in the global community.
Thank you. Would you also do roll call, please?
That,
Me?
yes,
I'm sorry.
Ms. Michelle.
Yes.
And Bridget is absent with notice, and Danielle will be late with notice. Kyle?
Here.
Margaret?
Here.
And Sherry?
Here.
And I am present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Before we do the approval of the agenda, we are going to make a change. We are going to be moving item number 12, which is our closed session, up to number 7, and then everything else will follow after that. So I am looking for a motion to approve the corrected agenda.
I motion to approve the corrected agenda and move action item 12 to number 7.
It's not an action item.
Or no, wait.
It's not an action item?
No.
An
I'm
agenda
sorry,
item.
an agenda item. Thank you.
Agenda item from 7 to 12?
12 to 7.
12 to 7?
Support.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda item.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented. Support.
Mr. Walmsley, is there anything you'd like to add?
Sure, we have some resignations. Anna English, our lead child care provider, her last day will be Friday. Lisa, our bus driver, has already resigned. And Pamela Lowry, if you recall, we hired her at the last meeting. She's resigned from a child care position. We had no terminations or layoff. New hires, we have here with us tonight Kathleen Gentner. She's our Title I teacher at Lee Elementary School. Stand up.
Welcome.
Say anything?
No, I'm just very excited to start on Wednesday, and thank you for welcoming me to the Richmond community.
Thanks for bringing your whole family with you.
We have Heather Merrill, who is our middle school science teacher. She will start on October 25th. She was unable to attend tonight. Jasmine Nelson is a child care provider. And Jamie Sanders is also a child care provider, and I don't believe they are here tonight. And finally, our last new hire is Jamie Thiel. You may recognize him. He was formerly administrative assistant, so he'll be coming back to us in the we're going to rename the position the Director of HR. There were no questions or comments regarding the minutes or for the previous board meeting, and no questions about the claims and comments.
Thank you. Any
Jamie,
further-
did you want to say something? Sorry. Thank you.
Happy to be back.
Welcome back.
Glad to have you back.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'm looking for a motion to go into closed session.
Pursuant to Section 8H of the Michigan Open Meetings Act, I move that the Board of Education go into closed session to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state or federal statute.
Support.
Any discussion? Okay, this is a roll call vote. Kyle?
Aye.
Margaret?
Aye.
Angela?
Aye.
Sherry?
Aye.
Deb? Aye. Motion carries. At this time, the board will be going into closed session. just waiting on one of our board members. Okay, the board will return to open session at 7:56. Okay, next item on our agenda is a bond update. Ms. Walmsley?
As we talked about the last board meeting, we are at the punch list part of the bond where we're going through and finishing project. Most of the stuff that we're waiting for is a supply issue getting here with the supply chain, whether it's additional tiles that need to be replaced or mechanical parts that were held off because we prioritized. It is truly a supply chain issue. The furniture that the board approved, the teacher desks for the elementary school, we're in the process of scheduling those and figuring out a date to exchange the old desks for new desks, as well as the middle school cabinets, bookshelves, and wardrobe cabinets for the middle school are in. We're targeting Wednesday to have those delivered to the classrooms like we did the elementary school a couple weeks ago. And then we're waiting on the high school furniture too. So it's really just closing up loose ends. You should receive for the proposal package for the summer of '22, the athletic fields, which is softball and baseball field, coming in I believe at the end of this week, they send it to HAWK, which does the cost analysis and projections for what it will cost, and then it will be going out to bid. So at some point in that process, we'll be bringing to the board to show you this is the plan for next summer, which would also include parking lots and the roads that didn't get done this past summer.
Thank you. Next is our presentations. We have Ms. Aria is going to do our manufacturing day.
Okay. All right, good evening. I'm here to talk about Manufacturing Day. It is back and better than ever. Manufacturing Day, also known as MFG Day, helps showcase the appeal of modern manufacturing careers and encourages thousands of companies and educational institutes around the nation to open their doors to educate students, parents, teachers, and community leaders about all the inner workings of the industry. Manufacturing Day also empowers manufacturers to come together to address their collective challenges so they can help their communities and future generations thrive. As part of the Macomb Engage initiative, the Macomb Intermediate School District, in conjunction with the Macomb County Department of Planning and Economic Development, have successfully had our 8th annual Manufacturing Day. While the pandemic last year caused the event to be virtual, it also led to innovations in the way that we connect. This year, districts have the option to participate in virtual or in-person Manufacturing Day activities. Richmond Community Schools proudly participated in person to provide our students with a hands-on and an immersive experience. So just a little bit about Manufacturing Week. It is September 27th through October 1st, and it accumulates on Manufacturing Day, which is always the first Friday of the month of October. So you can see all of the hosts that all of Macomb County schools were able to participate in, and we put in for it, and then we luckily ended up getting Systems X Corporation. So a little bit about Systems X. They are a cybersecurity and IT company, and we got to learn all about the creation of its business, the inner workings of the day-to-day. The students got to be able to make a nice little pin. Our students were, of course, amazing and asked very engaging questions about the industry. and were very interested in some cybersecurity events that they had going on and about how they were able to communicate and help alleviate those issues in a real world context. You can see our day's schedule. It was right up the street in Chesterfield, so it wasn't very far, but it was very exciting, and all of our students loved being able to go in person, of course. So up on the top left picture, that is Rebecca, and Rebecca is actually an employee that is in Virginia. Rebecca was created with a 3D printer, and she actually gets to navigate herself, and so she got to navigate herself into different rooms, and throughout the day she actually goes into the conference room where everybody is just having their meeting, and they have several employees around in Mexico and as well as in the United States and other states where they participate, and they're just employees to help navigate some of these IT issues. And this was Rebecca who joined us today and would just literally control herself around us. And the kids, of course, were very excited about her, and she could hear us, talk to us in live real time. But it was a really great day. And of course, I'm going to end with a few student quotes. Aiden said that, "I found it interesting how the company Systems X was started and how the business was built from the ground up." And Jackson said that the interactive aspect of the presentation was most enjoyable, and the presentation itself was very upbeat and exciting. I can't wait to learn more. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is our staff culture survey. The board has started this, and this is something we are promoting. I'm going to pass it on to Sherry Zuby. She's going to talk about it.
So I was one of 3 committee members. There was Danielle Sutton and Bridget Shuboy and I. We researched some questions for a climate and culture staff survey, just to kind of check in with staff it's been a difficult year and a half, almost 2 years, so we just want to kind of get a survey out there to see how everyone's feeling. So we researched some questions based on school culture when we came together, and kind of had the same kind of thoughts. Picked out 8 questions. There's 11 total on the survey. 3 are optional that deal with demographics. So there's 8 questions. It's going to be done on a Google form, which all the results will automatically be put in a spreadsheet and graphs. It'll be confidential. It'll take only 3 to 5 minutes to fill out. We hope to have it open for about a week, and hopefully find that everybody's doing okay. But if not, then they can put some comments in there, or at least we'll find out if not. Just it's stressful. I'm a preschool teacher myself, so I know. So that was it. And there was a copy of it in the packet, so I don't know if there's any questions or...
Okay, does anyone on the board have any questions? I know we've had it for about a week or so. Is there anything you'd like to see changed or anything different, or are you good? I know that I have one comment, and I've already shared it with Sherry, but I'll share it publicly. The line on the very first page that says, "Please feel free to reach out to us if you should have further questions, issues, or comments," I would like to add the words "regarding the survey." We should not be soliciting input from our community. That is not our job as a board to answer those questions.
Right.
Those would be going to Mr. Walmsley. So I would like to change that word.
Okay. Yeah, I think issues was like when we tested out the survey, we had some issues, so I think we just want to make sure people know to contact us if there are issues with it.
With the survey?
With the survey.
Okay. Is there any other comments from the board? Mr. Walmsley, did you anything?
I have some more logistic questions. If this is going from the board, it really should be from a district provided account and a personal account. We do have a district survey multi-account that can drop it into Excel. Just because any information received by a board member is subject to FOIA. And if it's on personal accounts and emails, it opens up to board member.
Okay, we were going to, that's actually something that probably needs to be changed on
Yeah,
here.
okay.
I was going to send it out on my school account,
No, but I think he's talking
Is that-
about the actual survey.
Oh, the actual survey.
Survey,
Because it's-
the actual.
Got it, I see.
Because we are not a Google
Got it.
platform.
Right.
district.
Got it.
Um,
Got it, got it.
Okay, can,
If I can.
yeah,
I can-
I'll contact you.
If we've got this in some type of, I'm assuming it's some type of Word document and so forth, it needs to be cut and paste into the same type of format in SurveyMonkey, which we've done
Okay.
with both parents as well as staff.
Can I contact you then after, and we'll, okay.
Is the purpose of the survey to see where staff are at this point? And if we're saying at the beginning or in the survey that we're trying to get your feedback and I'm trying to find the line, so give me, maybe it was in the email that was sent. It's an anonymous. Is there a purpose for breaking it down into the subcategories in the back?
Well, those are optional, so they may be answered, they may not. So, no, it's just an overall culture, climate survey.
So why do we even ask those 3 questions?
They're optional.
Why even ask them?
I don't know, in case somebody wants to answer them.
Do you think it would make a difference if it's coming from a teacher or a
I mean, we tried to make them as
administrator
vague as possible, you know, not to, that's all. We tried to make them as vague as possible.
You guys know where I stand on this survey, so I'm not even in favor of the survey, so I don't know that it gives us any information that we really need or is important.
Well, I guess, oh, I'm sorry.
My only purpose was if the intent is to see where the staff are at, and let's make the assumption you're seeing a pattern in a certain area, I think at that point more is followed because it could then be more of a specific group. It could be something going on that you might need to narrow down and have further explanation. But if you're trying to see generally what's the climate like in the district, the broader and the less connected, you may have more respondents. But it's up to me. Up to you guys.
Wait, what did you say?
No,
at
it's
the
not
end
just
there?
up to
What
us.
did you say there at the end, Brian?
If you leave it broader and more, less, if someone's going to put something out there and they really believe in it, I believe you have 2 types of people. People who say, I'm going to put it out there, I don't care if my name's attached or not. And then you got some that will say, I don't want this, I want to say it, but I don't want to be the one that has my name attached to it or group. So the more anonymous you get, the more likely you're going to get responses. That obviously keeping it simple, you're going to get more. If you have a long survey, you lose people. I mean, I think you guys know that. But I guess I always look at it if the purpose is to understand the climate of the district, I would not recommend doing that. Ask the climate questions.
Which one, the 3 questions at the end?
3 at the end.
I would not recommend doing the 3 questions. Just ask the climate questions.
I mean, they're not, yeah, sure, we could take them off if that's what everyone wants to do.
Well, I guess part of my question on the information we got for the board packet, we wanted to do this survey to look at goals for the district.
Mm-hmm.
So how are we going to do that with this survey? What's our plan? Because I don't think we talked about that at all.
Right, well, not.
As far as after the survey?
Yeah, I mean, what's the point? If we're looking for goals for our district, and part of this, when you look at this survey, you're gearing it towards educators, teachers. Not because you're talking about that education, educators have been through, especially over the last 18 months. All of that is absolutely correct, but we have more than just teachers. And so if we're looking for true climate, I don't think this survey works. And if we're looking to make goals for our district, then I think as a board, we have to figure out what that means.
Well, I think
before we start
the
asking
questions
people.
are broad enough that they
I
do
would
cover any staff member anywhere.
I would agree with Sherry. I mean, the first question says, please select the best response that describes I enjoy coming to work every day.
Okay, but then don't
That's
say,
pretty general.
don't say, given the extreme circumstances that all educators have been through, especially over the last 18 months, if you're talking every single
Got it. So
employee.
maybe change the word educate.
Because you aren't reaching me who's not a teacher.
Got it.
And
Which makes
I
sense.
agree with Kyle. I think the survey doesn't work. But I guess, on the question, in Richmond Community Schools, I would like to see the district improve in these ways, holding staff accountable. What's the point of that
Well, it was one of the options we researched, so. I mean,
Okay, but what's the point of
The reason we're
it?
discussing is if there's something different you'd like to see on there, we can change it.
Well, I think holding staff accountable, I wouldn't put that at all, because what does that mean? And what does that have to do with setting goals? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I just,
because you're right, if somebody chose that, we may not know what to
What
do
does
after
that
that.
mean?
Yeah.
Maybe take a look at that question, Sherry, with the group, with your group.
and again, looking, targeting professional development, how does that affect?
If they want more professional
No, no, no.
And that could
No,
be
no.
across the board.
Okay, but,
Secretaries could have professional development, bus drivers could have professional development. That would target everyone.
but do you think custodians and that would look at that question?
Well, first off, our custodians are not Richmond employees.
They're-
Are we putting it out there to them?
Absolutely, they work here in this,
Well, they might want to.
they work for us.
Training.
So that's what I'm saying, it's got to be geared to everyone. And you're right with the professional, I'm just saying, do you think, what are they looking at that? What does that mean? I don't
I think
know.
our managers could benefit with some professional development, being that they're dealing with students regularly. So I don't have an issue with any of the survey questions.
There's
I
other,
think
they
it
can
will
always.
give us a good gauge on the climate of the district, and then from there, we would proceed to make goals. I would think after we got the results of the survey, and then we would be taking direction from that, or I'm confused why we would make goals now before we have.
No, my
No,
question
we
was,
aren't questions.
talking about goals, I don't know that was ever a discussion. There are people on the board that want a climate survey. So now we put in that it's because for goals for the district. That's nothing that we talked about.
Is that
So if we,
in there?
Did you
No.
mention that?
But you were the one that just mentioned that, right?
No, it's
Are you
right-
wanting to do that?
No, it's right here. I said in the
Where does it say?
documentation we received from the committee. So I'm just asking.
Oh, but it's not.
But it's
on
not in the
survey, right?
survey.
No, but it's the purpose.
Got it.
It's the purpose that the committee, this is what they're saying, right here.
That was the email that went out?
Well, I
I don't know that we put that in there. I don't know
If you're going
who
to put a
typed that.
survey out and you're going to get the results,
I
you
didn't say
are
that
more likely going to do something with
I
it,
didn't
whether
think
it's
that.
validate what you're doing and keep existing programs,
Right.
or you're going to set goals that this is an area that we want to improve in and change. I would hope, and that's what we do in the building. We send a survey out to parents, we send it out to staff.
If
kids.
necessary, it
We get
says whatever
that
it is,
feedback and
yeah.
see where do we need to make
Okay.
improvements,
and
what do we need to keep.
So then are we only interested in a survey for employees for goals? Are we interested in student survey, parent
This one
survey?
is just for staff.
Right now,
This
we're
one
just
is-
looking at staff.
I mean,
you can, that's
Parent.
part of school improvement. I mean, I actually called or talked to Renee about this. I said, would this help in any way with school improvement? Because part of your school improvement plan does survey your staff. And it doesn't, a separate survey could be your students, and a separate survey could be
Right,
your
but then
parents.
whose job is that to do that survey for school improvement?
Our buildings. So this could help them. If we do this, we could, well, that would, you'd have to break it up then by building.
I don't think it's a bad thing to find out how the staff is feeling.
No.
In light of some districts are losing half their staff for whatever reason, so I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, I'm not looking, I don't think that we're going to get poor, reviews, so I'm not worried about the results. I'm interested in the results, but I'm not worried about them.
Okay, anybody have any other comments? So So Sherry, what I have here from what I've heard, we want to look at the wording in that first paragraph. We need to get it off of the Google Docs, so we need to go into Apple, and we need to take a look at that one question.
I think the second page question might be the words on the bottom one. I think you need to look at it you have an opportunity to have your voice heard. Oftentimes people will say something, there may be things or parameters that prohibit the district from acting and doing what they want to have happen.
Oh.
But it doesn't eliminate them having opportunity and for the district to listen and, okay, let's see, there's some merit to that. How can we adopt some of it or adapt some of that? But it's more of a wordsmithing question on that one that maybe I feel I have an opportunity for my voice to be heard. Because there's a staff member who truly feels that they have no opportunity to give feedback, we got a problem. And whether it's at the building level, at the district level, I mean, board level,
I feel I have an opportunity. Is that what you're looking for? I feel I have an opportunity to have my voice.
Have my voice heard. So the other one, Brian, any?
I mean, seriously, that's why we put other, because we knew that some of these answers are not cut and dry, and we know sometimes you want to explain more what you mean by your answer, so, hopefully people will do that. Because sometimes it's just not always, usually, or rarely. There's that in between that you want to explain, but if you just have those answers, sometimes it's hard to answer.
Any other comments? Okay, so Sherry's going to go back to the committee, make those corrections as soon as we have it set. Sherry, you're going to work with Mr. Walmsley about getting this.
Yeah.
Well, I think it should come back
To
in
us?
2 weeks with whatever we've discussed and whether
We
they've
look at
met
it
and
again.
they've got it set to go
Okay,
prior
we
to
can do
going
that.
out.
We'll put it back on in 2 weeks, relook at it, and then we'll send it out. Okay, I'd like to thank Sherry and Danielle and Bridget for working on the survey. Thank you. Okay, our next portion of our meeting is public comments. Since the last board meeting, I've received several emails from parents regarding the health department's new mandatory requirements. At this time, I'm going to allow Mr. Walmsley to address them publicly, and then we will open up public comments after that. Mr. Walmsley?
Thank you. September 29th, as the board knows, and probably many in the listening audience, the health department made some changes to their called the return to learning plan, oftentimes referred to by all the district, but the guidelines of the health department and the requirements of the health department. I say both because in some of their documents it is just a guideline, and in some of their documents it is shall and must be done. Prior to that date, the district, when we had a close contact case, we left it up to the discretion of the parent based on their child. On the 29th, that discretion for us to give changed to a must, shall type of event. So what was released, the administration and I met on that, I believe it was a Thursday, September 30th, I think it was. We met to talk about this, and that we were, until we could figure out how to operationalize some of the stuff that they were requiring in changing our practices, we held off till the 4th. This document went out on the 4th to parents, which basically just changed the back page. And I did leave copies if anybody has not seen it yet. I put one in front of each of the board tables. But basically, as the changes, the close contact definition did not change. The health department still defines a close contact as anybody within 6 feet of someone who has a confirmed or probable close COVID-19 circumstance. And then it gives you a flow chart that if you answer yes, it asks, if you've been within 6 feet, it asks you to answer basically 3 questions. Have you been fully vaccinated, or have you been diagnosed with COVID in the past 90 days? If the answer is yes, students and staff may remain in school and participate in extracurricular activities so long as they're not showing symptom. And again, you have to go back to symptoms beyond what is their baseline symptom. If I'm a student that normally has allergies and I start showing symptoms at this time, That is my baseline, so it's something above that baseline. We are not asking for proof of vaccination. We are not asking for proof of 90. If the parent tells me, our administrative team, that they have, we have no reason to believe that our parents would not be truthful. But then it goes on, if you answer no to that question, let's say this child was not vaccinated or had COVID, or staff member, because this applies to also staff members, then it looks at narrowing the close contact grouping, which is, are you between 3 feet but less than 6 feet? If you're within that grouping, as long as there's no symptoms, you're basically may remain in school and participate in extracurricular activities. On our website, what we now legally have to post, you will start seeing those two columns. How many students were between the 3 and how many students were between the 6 feet distance. As of this afternoon, when I updated the page, there were 74 people that fell within that 3 to 6 people range, where previously it was the 0 to 6 range. And if we would follow the guidelines at that point, those 74 would have been required to quarantine at that point. If you fall between basically 0 and 3 feet, there are 3 options that we now as a district must do. And they've changed the word. It's no longer should, it's now a must. Quarantine at home for 10 days, or quarantine at home for 7 days. Basically, if you've had a negative test after day 5, you can come back, or quarantine at home and do a daily test and then be able to come back to school. In all options, wearing a face mask indoors is recommended, it's not required. Again, that's still the requirement for our district, it is a choice of the individual student. So this came out, we had conversations as a superintendent group with the health department. We have them every Monday and sometimes every Monday and Wednesday to see what the trends are in the county and where they're trying to understand where they're going to try to combat what's going on in our community. With that said, this was released by the health department. I expected it. In fact, I think it said at the last parent board meeting to the parents here, I said, I am concerned it's going to change. And I truly believe that, because there were very few districts that took the position that we did, and we did get a legal opinion. Then we did exactly what we were required to do by law, and we did not require quarantine. I do have I wouldn't say the same legal opinion, but I asked the attorney, now that the changes are made, is there some differences that now we are required to quarantine because it's a must? I just want to point out, there's a line in what the attorney has said that basically, under the public health code, a person who violates a regulation of the local health department is guilty of a misdemeanor punishable by imprisonment of no more than 6 months or a fine of not more than $200 or both. The question really is going to be, if someone chooses not to implement this, are they willing to take the risk and go have the health department, state attorney general, or the county prosecutor implement that? It's a risk. I know many educators, and I'm not going to speak for them, but many of our educators, this is their livelihood. And current law says if you are charged with a misdemeanor, you have 3 days to report it. I may have some of the legal aspects wrong. If you are placed on for a disciplinary action, prior to that, you used to keep getting your salary until you went through the hearing. Now your salary is held in advance, and you no longer get your salary. So for an educator to risk their livelihood, it's a big decision someone has to make. And then again, we all have our differences on this position, but I have said from day one, and I know this board has said also, we're going to do everything we can to stay in person. We're going to do everything we said. We will only do what is absolutely required. They didn't say I had to collect health cards. They didn't say I had to collect those. I'm not collecting. I don't want that information. That is a private matter, I believe, between the individual and their doctor. But they have to ask it. And so the plan is that we are following the health department guidelines. I would envision these will evolve and change based on what's going on in the community. That's all I have at this point. So.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, I would like to be on record as saying I would like to go back to what we did at the start of the year. I just really, I can't believe that this was sent down. I just, without getting into personal beliefs, it's just unbelievable. So we either have to abide by this or tell everybody to say they're vaccinated, which is a completely different topic. I would like to disregard it, but that's just me.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, this time, any member of the public may address the board. Please sign in and state your name. You will have 3 minutes to address the board. Are there any public comments?
First, thank you, Mr. Longley. I appreciate it. By the way, anything else out here. I emailed the whole entire board, all of you guys regarding my son. I did not receive one email from anybody. I had to come down here and talk to Mr. Longley personally. Not one person replied, apologized, helped, nothing. I said, where do I go from this? No comment from any of you. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. If a parent is asking a question, probably got to get an answer. Secondly, I've attached documents to all of your emails regarding the lawsuit with kids not having their right to education. It's in all of your attachments. You know, since my son was sent home for contact tracing, playing football, so the whole JV team sits, makes 0 sense. And FYI, antibodies is mentioned in return from the county, by the way. Antibodies is mentioned, so no kid with antibodies should also be kicked from school for their education. Like I said, I'm an honor student. I'm not fighting this for me. I don't care if the kid stays home. He wants to be here. Do you know a kid in 9th grade that wants to be at school? I mean, seriously, he wants to be here. He's an athlete. There's no reason for it. I'm over this. Again, Mr. Longley, I appreciate you responding to me that day, but I'm really actually upset that I didn't get anything from anybody. Thank you.
Can you name please? Thank you.
Right.
Thiel. I'm sure you all know me by now. I just wanted to get up and I didn't plan on talking tonight, but with all of the new changes, I'm glad that you mentioned that. That's something I do want to look into, the law, the health department, because I didn't realize my daughter was just a close contact on Friday. And I was adamant, and I said, I'm sending her to school on Monday. And I'm not testing, and I'm not going to lie, and I feel like this is forcing parents to lie, because if you're not asking for proof, which I am thankful that you're giving parents, that there's that gray area and you're not legally bound to do that, so I appreciate you saying that, but at the same time, then that opens up to, okay, do I have to lie to you? That's not right. You know what I mean? Like, we shouldn't have to lie for our kids to get an education. So when I was adamant on sending my daughter to school on Monday, through the weekend I had a lot to think about. And I did send an email and I said with all of the irrational thinking these days, that I did not want it to suffer from an irrational consequence, and I did not think that that would be one of them. So I'm glad I made the decision that I did. But another thing I just wanted to say really quick was I have heard of other schools suing the health department. So I know we just talked about it while we were sitting over here, and it's something that we're going to be looking into as parents. So I was also wondering if you guys could, if this is something you guys could look into. I know you guys obviously are starting to get more passionate about this. I've never heard you speak on it since I've been here, so I think for the fact that you said something that you don't agree with it speaks volumes, and I think everybody's just like done. So if this is something that I know you guys decided to do the letter to the governor and all that, if this is something you guys can propose, I don't know how that all works, but just wanted to bring that up to you guys. Hopefully it's something good you can consider.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kelly O'Donnell. This is probably going to be a little bit jumpy because I have a couple different things I want to cover. First, I want to read you part of the Michigan Revised School Code. Section 380.10, Rights of the Parent and Legal Guardian under the duties of the public schools. It is the natural, fundamental right of the parents and legal guardians to determine and direct the care, teaching, and education of their children. The pupils of the school of the state serve the needs of the public schools of this state serve the needs of the pupils by cooperating with the pupils' parents and legal guardians to develop the pupils' intellectual capabilities and vocational skills in a safe and positive manner. That's directly from the school code for the state of Michigan. I also saw the other day that the Michigan Department of Education, actually the Federal Department of Education, is voted to distribute $1.2 billion within the state of Michigan that was originally earmarked as the American Rescue Plan funds. I wasn't totally sure what exactly that was, so I had to look it up. That is also known as the COVID stimulus package. So my question is, if this money is coming originally from the COVID stimulus package and is now being distributed in the public schools, what kind of strings are attached to that? I believe the article continued to say that included with this collaborative partnership between the districts and the health department, it did mention vaccines and also testings. So I'm just, again, curious what kind of strings are going to be attached to this money and what is going to be tried to roll out on our children. The state health department is also providing more than $24 million to hire 220 health resource advocates. I'm curious of what that position actually is. As a registered nurse myself, I would really be interested in seeing what the qualifications are and what their position is actually supposed to entail. And then there's also money included in that $24 million that's supposed to address social emotional needs, which, let's not be silly, we all know that that is CRT in disguise. And the last thing, if I have enough time, I want to read a little part from Let Them Play Michigan. The local health department has no legal authority to require or enforce masks or quarantine, unless there's a public health order. I looked at that order, or that piece of paper from the health department. Nowhere on there does it say order. There is no order number. There is nothing. There's a date. That's it. To me, it looks like a memo, not an order. I would assume they would have to have a number on it referencing somewhere, and I could not find that anywhere in the nine pages or something like that. So if there's a public health order, these orders are only allowed during an emergency. I think we all know that we're kind of past that emergency at this point. If your child, for the parents out there, is forced into quarantine, you can file a lawsuit against the school or the health department. To date, there have been 15 wins in the state of Michigan out of 18 cases against the health department. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? Okay, we are going to move on our agenda. Our next item is Superintendent and Legislative Update. Mr. Walmsley?
Thank you. Just a reminder, coming up next week, there are parent-teacher conferences. They are on Wednesday, October 20th and Thursday, October 21st, from 12 to 3 and 5 to 8 on both days. We are offering both options for parents in both in-person and virtual. Last year, with what we dealt with, we used virtual conferences. We actually had a very large turnout, and it's more convenient for parents. With work schedules, you don't have to take off a half day to go there or tie up an evening. You can schedule their appointment, and we had many families opting to do that either on a break at work and something in their car at work, just more convenient. And so I encourage all parents to make their plans to attend parent-teacher conferences and at least consider the virtual option for convenience sake for busy schedules. The Senate bill, the Senate passed the bill that allows pupil accounting flexibility. If you recall, this school year, we went back to pre-COVID regulations on pupil accounting. This bill allows students basically in the quarantine realm to be counted so long as we're doing certain guidelines. It's kind of a day late and a dollar short with count day already passed. This is on to the House Department or the House to for them to approve, but it would allow flexibility, particularly in certain areas where they are experiencing higher than average quarantine basis, and it allows students to schools still to be counted. As you know, our count day was based this past Wednesday. It was 90% of the enrollment on Wednesday and 10% of the enrollment in February make up our this year's count. So we are finalizing those numbers, but I can tell you at this point we have at least met what the budget projected to be, at least flat. So the other one is that we're watching, though we do have a 3-year contract and our calendar is set for the next 3 years. House Bill 4199 passed at a 92-9-2 vote out of the House Education Committee, which would repeal the requirement that schools start after Labor Day unless they receive a waiver. During the hearing, there was a lot of conversation from the Chamber of Commerce and the tourist industry, which is why that bill became law. The bill is now on for the full House for consideration. So basically, whether we start before Labor Day, to me, is irrelevant. What I think this bill does is it puts the local control of that decision back in the local districts and not as a state mandate. So I think the relationship we've had, particularly with the REA that sets the calendar, we find the time that mutually agrees with us, and I think that's in our best interest for our committee, or our community. Again, if we choose to go before Labor Day, that's our community's decision, not someone at the state. So if anything, it's a win to give local control back to the school boards and the individuals in this organization. That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, items of interest from the board. I'll start with Kyle. Anything?
No, thank you.
Angela?
I'm all set, thank you.
Sherry?
I'm good, thank you.
Margaret?
I just want to give a shout out to Pam Daly, who is our pupil accounting person in the district. I work for the ISD, so we share students, and I do the pupil accounting, and I have to make sure my numbers match with my local districts for students that we share. I have 10 districts that I work with, and Pam Daly was the only person who responded to my questions of making sure numbers were accurate. And I called Brian and I let him know, and I reached out to Pam, but people need to know how really important her job is and the job that she does, because making sure that our numbers are accurate is funding that both of our schools get, and she does an amazing job. So thank you to her. We're lucky to have her doing our pupil accounting.
Thank you. I would just like to address one of the public comments regarding the email. If an email is sent to the board and it's a question on anything with the district, normally, if it's just addressed to the board, I, as the president, will answer it. And my standard answer is, thank you for your concern. I will be forwarding this on to Mr. Walmsley or whoever to deal with it, because it's not our responsibility as a board member to answer it. Your email also had Mr. Walmsley on it, so I did not do my standard line, but I will in the future. Nothing else from the board. At this time, there is no further business. The board will adjourn at 8:39.